Crap. You know something I realized, like, as soon as I hit the record button, whether we were gonna have an intro, like a song intro for this.
I don't remember what we did for Power Hour.
I don't think you guys had one.
Oh, I don't think we did. I think it
I
just
think
started.
yeah, you just started at, but I mean, Jason at least had it laid out of first of all, what are the chances that you think that Jason listens to this before he actually uploads it?
Dang it, I don't know. He doesn't listen to the podcast, though.
Yeah, but like, that's because he just spent a week, like, outlining it and then 2 hours recording it. This, he would just have to spend whatever we decide on the time. I mean, technically, we did want to do, well, hello audience. I'm Kevin. That's Angel. This is our first duo podcast, not for the feed, because, you know, Random Nintendo was just you two before I came along. But ever since then, there was one episode where you guys did it together because I was passed out. I don't think it's family friendly what happened to me, and the reason that I was not on that episode, it was supposed to be a Quarantine Chronicles, just like this episode was supposed to be a Quarantine Chronicles, but Jason is in Vegas,
Partying it up,
sending it up over there. Yeah, it's
Damn, he's gonna be playing so much Top Golf. I just know it. I think that's what it's called.
Top Golf.
The driving range. There's like a driving range over there. Don't know what it's called, but
Does he usually do that over there?
no. But it sounds like something he would pick up.
Of the 3 times that I've been to Vegas with Jason, I don't think I've ever heard him mention Top Golf.
I know Nevik is the one, well, another one of our friends that has done it multiple times, but, you know, as like you get older and you realize like time is limited, you just start golfing, apparently. That's just some people do in their 40s.
That makes sense because my dad recently picked up golf. Well, not recently, like, I mean, within the last 10 years for sure.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know what it is about golf and age.
You know, it's a very, I don't want to say slow. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely a slow sport. You know, you take your time with it. You just enjoy the view. You relax a bit. You know, some places it's like BYOB. I know driving ranges for sure. You can buy like a bucket of beer while you're just shooting balls into the air. So I think it's like a mix of all that.
Yeah, I guess because you go at your own pace. Like, I mean, I don't think you're ever going to be sweating. And it's just, and I guess it could be relaxing. So
I guess it could also be a hot day and you're sweating because of that.
Oh, yeah. But I think that's like where you have the divide between people who just golf really casually. Like, they could probably care less about the actual golfing part and just want to, you know, do something low key. And then you have, you know, the people that are playing speed golf in real life that want to get the lowest
golf.
score.
I don't think speed golf is an actual thing in real life.
People that run to their ball.
No, it's not Mario Golf.
Simultaneously showing the other golfers.
No, that would be some sort of like, that'd be something that they put in a Jackass movie. Like, it absolutely would be an amazing sport to watch now that I think about it. Like, if you just have Tiger Woods and the world's like top pro golfers, you know, just hit their balls and then just run to the next, to wherever it lands.
So what would even be like
they
the
just
beneficial build? Like, do you want to be built like a, you know, like a sprinter, or do you want like, I guess like some upper body strength to like hit the ball as hard as possible so you could like maybe have to sprint just once and then hold it in the next one? Well, sink it in the next one, but.
Well, yeah. Would you rather be good and be slower, or be worse and faster? Essentially, there's really only 2 builds in real life that you can be. I guess you could be
the all-arounder.
The all-rounder, or you could just be terrible in both categories, I guess. Or you could be really good in both categories. See,
there will be one person that will be.
You know how much I hate the meta when it comes to video games. I remember...
Like in general?
Yes. I remember Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Everybody always picked Dr. Doom, you know? Because he was pretty strong.
Hidden missile were the meta.
Yeah, and then I remember asking our friend Celso, why does everybody pick Dr. Doom? And he said, oh, well, he's an S-rank character. Should fighting games have S-rank characters? Where they just are clearly better than everybody else?
I mean, in theory they shouldn't. Like, that's the thing. Like, fighting games, I remember just like, from watching developer interviews and stuff. Like some characters are designed like legitimately to be really, really good. Like the expectation is, oh, this tournament's going to be like winning tournaments. And they do have characters that are supposed to be just for fun that they don't really expect to do very well. Like Dan in a couple Street Fighter games. Or even in going back to Marvel vs. Capcom, like Phoenix Wright isn't exactly supposed to be a great character. He's just supposed to be super wacky, which, unsurprisingly because of that, puts I think in like the lowest tier of like Ultimate Marvel, at least that's what I saw. But to make it even more confusing, everyone is also unanimous, like, oh, when he's in turnabout mode, which is after, he collects his evidence, throws out a hold against you, and he throws out an objection, and lands it, he becomes like a double S rank character, because he's just like really OP for those couple seconds that he's in his turnabout mode. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think of the meta as something like the meta is 100% like user created. Like, it's just what we did. I mean, some people could argue like, oh yeah, the perfect game would be a perfectly balanced game, but that would just be boring because like the only way to get something perfectly balanced would be if you just had one character and everyone had to pick that character and that's it.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that every character should play the same. There should obviously be something that balances that strength, and I feel like with Doctor Doom in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, there was like no balance. He was just overpowered, and he had a decent health pool, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, at least like for Marvel, even though he's really overpowered, there were a lot of overpowered characters. Like the S rank, I think, just makes it so he's just very splashable, like really easy to use. So it's like anyone could just like throw him in a team and they'll be okay, especially because of his assist. But when you get to, I guess more competitive players and like the higher skill set, you see like a lot of teams that don't even use Doctor Doom. He's definitely really popular, but you end up seeing a lot of like Virgil, Wesker, Storm, or Akuma teams that
Virgil, I saw.
They have, especially Virgil. I feel like Virgil and Wesker were like all over the place just because they had easy combos that hit off the ground, and essentially if you got touched, you died. Which is kind of like, I love Marvel vs. Capcom just for the fact that it has Phoenix, but I'm not the biggest fan of fighting games where if you get touched once, you die. And if you move around, and you get to move around like crazy. I don't know.
But you love Nidhogg. How's that even possible?
Oh, because the game is literally one touch you die. This one...
I mean, yeah, you hate those, don't you? No, I'm kidding.
It's different. It's like one hit point. It's like look at, I don't know if you've seen any recent gameplay footage that has been revealed from the Nickelodeon game, but it's clearly, a Smash Bros. Inspired game, but it definitely has like its own mechanics, and those mechanics are straight up, let's make this melee but crazier. Cause like nothing has you could cancel out of anything. And they were showing how like SpongeBob can basically Marvel vs. Capcom touches you once, bounces you back and forth, or just combos you with like a bunch of up tilts into another up tilt to an up air to an up air to death. And it looks cool. Like I enjoy seeing people play stuff like that. I mean, I like watching people play Melee, but I myself don't really have fun anymore playing Melee. Like having to move around like your characters on, like Adrenaline or something. Just like seeing all the wave dashing and those like touch death combos, just as someone playing the game, it just doesn't feel very fun. And yes, I digress, you can 0 to death someone in Smash Brothers, but those combos are rarely...
you guys do that to me all the time.
Yeah, but those combos are rarely ever guaranteed. Everything could be broken out of if you move a certain way, if you dodge at the right time. You pretty much have to, be in their head in order to pull off a 0 to death. Which is kind of why I like it, just because it's more of a back and forth. But yeah, so even if some characters are overpowered, Joker, can't kill you in 0 to death if you know what you're doing. But most of the time, it just happens so fast that you kind of have to practice against the move to not die right away. Because he can just up or spin lock you to death. But yeah.
How does one exactly do that? I've always wanted to get back into... Well, not that I was never into Smash. I was just never good at it. I remember being humbled once because I knew that I was never at your guys' level. But, I felt like if you knew the controls to Smash and you go up against somebody who thinks that they're probably good, you're probably going to beat them.
It's happened.
So I remember at my old job, I met a what?
I'm pretty sure I mentioned that here. Yeah, like someone was watching me play Smash Brothers in Vegas with my brother-in-law, and they were like, "Oh, I bet I could beat you. Let's go 1v1, and then winner buys the other one a drink." And I was like, "Sure." And I completely wrecked him, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a humbling experience, isn't it?
Yeah. And then there was someone else behind him that's all like, "Oh, I could beat you." And yeah, I think I beat him even worse. And he was like, "Yep, my bad." Basically.
Nice. One of my coworkers at my old job, we had just become we had just like become acquaintances, and we live around the same area. And he was like, "Do you like Smash Brothers?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like Smash." And he's like, "Are you good at it?" And this guy, I'm not expecting anything from him, and so I go over to his place, and he's got Melee running, or I don't even know if it was Melee. It was either Melee or Smash 4. And I just get destroyed. I get absolutely creamed. And I will never forget the embarrassment of like, I told this guy that I'm pretty good at Smash. I went over to his house just to get dusted. Just to get 3-0'd consistently. Yeah, it's a very humbling experience. It's not fun. But I don't know if I'll ever get back into Smash. I want to. I would love to be a Joker main. I remember when he was revealed at the Game Awards, it was me, you, and Jason in a group text. I remember just freaking out over the fact that they actually put Joker in Smash.
Damn, I bet. Because, I mean, no one saw that coming, no pun intended. But
well, yeah, absolutely nobody saw that coming.
Just it just didn't make sense. It just happened.
Yeah. Especially for a series that had, at that point, nothing on Nintendo platforms. It was like, okay, Persona Q2 was on there.
Yeah, what I do was more out of left field than Cloud, because at least like it just felt like, all right, they went to put Final Fantasy, which is something that started on Super Nintendo and NES, but they just went with their like most famous face. But Joker, yeah, that was weird.
Is there any character that would be as left field as Joker that would actually surprise you?
Damn, it would literally have to be because like by now, and most people we've had so much time to think about this. So it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? That just the fact that we threw them out of the possibility will make them feel like, oh, yeah, I can see that when they're eventually revealed. Even if they're super crazy, like, I don't know, just to knock a name out. Let's say they picked the evil main villain bird from Captain Toad. Like, I would never expect them to pick that. They have no reason to pick that. There's no reason to believe they should pick that. But now if it appears, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. For it to still get a surprise for me, even after guessing their name, it would have to be a big rule that Sakurai breaks. I feel like he would have to pick like, I don't know. And I really hate to say this, like an anime character, like Goku or something.
Yeah, Goku was obviously the first one that comes into everybody's mind.
Yeah, it's like, I hope that doesn't happen because I would like it to, stay in the video game space. Well, originated from video game. People are quick to point out that Goku has like a bajillion different games. But yeah, like I think that would still shock me just because it's like, wow, like if the game is ending like this, I mean, it's kind of a cool send-off, I guess, just to break into the ridiculous.
Just to break the rule for once.
Yeah, leave people with that feeling that like, you mean this whole time we could have had anything. Like, literally anything at this point.
If there was an anime character, who would you want?
Ooh, man. Oh, man. The kid that plays the piano in Your Lie in April. Nah.
Jesus Christ.
It would obviously have to be some kind of fighter of some sort. I mean, I definitely wouldn't go with Goku, but that's just because
Goku.
I'm not that attached to Dragon Ball Z. Like, I feel like I'd rather see, like, Naruto or... I don't know, someone from My Hero Academia,
I guess.
But I feel like we also have like enough ninjas. And they just Sheik and Greninja was basically Naruto. He even has like the turn into wood teleportation thing power.
I don't watch it, but I know a lot of people would freak out if Gon from Hunter x Hunter was announced.
That is a super popular one. Yeah.
Have you watched Hunter x Hunter?
No, I've watched a few episodes vicariously through Elvis,
Or your brother?
and yeah, and I mean, I saw some episodes that had some action that looked pretty cool. I saw randomly many episodes where, if you're not keeping up with the plot as far as you're concerned, like nothing happened. Like it's just like, oh, like the characters barely made any movement from their current location. They were just kind of talking, just setting stuff up. And then there was like an episode. I actually remember once there was an episode where people were pretty much just giving each other like the death stare, and they were just kind of exchanging words like, "Oh, this is it. Like I am gonna kill you." Blah blah blah. And like they're building up their aura, and I thought like, "Oh man, like they're about to fight." And this is like how the episode started, but by the end of the episode, like they still haven't started fighting yet. It's like they flashbacked a few times in there, and they kept exchanging some other words, and it's like, all right, I guess next episode it is. But that's just kind of a lot of animes in general.
I assume when you watch anime, our conversation is just going from place to place, but I'm assuming when you watch anime, you are fully focused on watching that anime. You're not doing something on the side.
Yeah, because I watch, man, like 90% of my anime is subbed, so I already kind of have to like make sure I'm reading it.
Oh, okay,
But
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But yeah, I definitely give them the time of day. There's like really, yeah, I don't think there's any anime that I've watched while doing something else. Because sometimes like I think I tried that once, and with My Hero at some point, I think like during the school band arc, like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try to do something else.
Oh yeah, that was not a very good arc.
And there were a few times where I actually had to like rewind it and be like, oh man, I missed something. Because like every once in a while during that arc, like they'll cut away from it and like to like, plot stuff. And then I'll be like, ah, damn it. Because I wasn't really looking when it wasn't talking about the band stuff. But yeah, maybe one day if I finish learning Japanese. Well, no, when I finish learning Japanese. So it is a matter of time. Just don't know how much of time that is.
I haven't been keeping up with My Hero Academia ever since.
You caught up with the book though.
Oh yeah, but it's been about a month or two since I read. Here's why I unfortunately have learned that being a manga reader from month to month is worse than being like than like watching a TV series, like catching up and then waiting for a brand new episode week to week, because chapters are only so long, and a chapter
Aren't
of
they
a
so
manga.
longer than a TV show?
What, chapters?
Yeah. Oh no, I mean like I know chapters. Oh wait a minute, you're saying you get like Wow. Okay. For some reason, when I first think of like, oh, you read the manga and you get it month by month, I imagine you getting like basically a whole little book every month.
Oh, volume.
But I forget.
No,
yeah, but
no.
I forget that the volumes are made of like multiple chapters. So it's like, damn.
Yeah, each
Some of that
volume
is
is made up of
less
like
than an
12,
episode,
13.
right?
Yep, exactly. It's about the last My Hero chapter that I read would probably fill about 3 minutes of the show.
Oh my god.
And so now going to like 3 minutes every month, not even like every week. It's painful. I kind of just want to do this thing with other mangas that I'm going to start reading. Like at some point I'm going to start reading Jujutsu Kaisen. I just want to go like arc by arc. Like, all right, this arc's done. Let me go ahead and start reading the next arc at some point in the future. Or, at some point I'm going to catch up to where Jujutsu Kaisen is, and I'll just wait for the arc to end, and then I'll read it.
Didn't you not like that anime? It sounded like it didn't quite, or you weren't in love with it.
Yeah, I wasn't in love with it, because like I said in that episode of Quarantine Chronicles, I found it very generic. It's like a combination of a lot of anime. It's part Bleach, it's part Naruto, it's it's part. It's just like a mix of stuff. It has it's got its tournament arc pretty early on. Every character has like their special move and stuff like that. And I know it gets a lot of acclaim because it's like just pure shonen tropes like distilled. But even then, I don't think that it does them that great. Where the anime exceeds is in the animation for sure. Like when there's a when there's a huge battle, you feel you feel the animation just transcend whatever you've seen before. I remember showing. I kind of started getting into Black Clover. It was just an anime that I would have on the side while I'm playing Genshin, and just I think I've said this before, but I watch all my animes dubbed. I do not care like how terrible their voices are. I will watch anime dubs till I die. Very seldom will I see a subbed anime. I think the most recent one, and honestly the only one that I've watched.
But doesn't that mean that there's just some that you're just never gonna watch?
What do you mean? I mean, if it's the only way that I can watch it, yeah, I will watch it subbed.
Oh, okay.
But if I have the option between both, I will always watch it dubbed. So I think I saw Kaguya-sama season 1 subbed because I think that was, at the time, that was the only way that I thought you could watch it. But then Hulu had the second season dubbed. So I just saw that dubbed. Or I think Funimation had the second season dubbed. I don't even think the first season of Kaguya-sama is dubbed anywhere, which is odd. But Black Clover, I was watching dubbed, and at some point I was like, you know what? I just want to see if that animation ever gets better than these first couple of episodes. So I saw what was one of the biggest fights, I assume, in the show, and it looks so bad. And I remember showing this to your brother, where I showed him that fight, which is supposed to be this huge fight, and how poorly animated it was. And then I had him compare it to the, I guess, I would say like third or fourth major fight of the Jujutsu Kaisen anime, which is part of that like school tournament arc. And the beginning of the fight, like the first 2 seconds of that fight, had more animation, had more frames of animation than that entire like Black Clover fight. Yeah, I mean, that show visually is stunning, but I don't really care for the rest of it. That's why I'm like, when that second season comes out, I will probably just wait until it's all done, or maybe I'll watch it week by week. I still don't know yet, but I do want to read the manga. And now I actually have an iPad to read manga on, as opposed to like doing it on my computer.
So you're probably going to be reading a lot more manga in general, right?
Oh, absolutely. So now that with that iPad, I also downloaded like the Marvel app and the DC app just to see if like maybe get into those. But man, they are pricey. The Marvel app for their comics, I believe it's like $70 a year, or 60 maybe. And then the DC one is like 70 or 80. But I believe the DC one has pretty much their entire catalog, even up to like new comics, while Marvel, I believe they're off by a couple of years, maybe like 2 or 3 years.
What?
Yeah, so you're not even getting the latest stuff.
Damn, that kind of sucks. Yeah, comics, yeah. Well, I don't know. Getting into, just any comic in general is always intimidating. I mean, manga can be intimidating as well, but it's probably easier to jump into that than at least anything from Marvel and DC, just because they think, oh, where do I start? Oh, I see there's a Batman 1 here. Oh, no, that Batman 1 isn't the beginning where you want to start. You want to start in this other Batman 1, which is exactly this other Batman 1.
And then what's this? This is Detective Comics, and it runs concurrently with Batman 1 from 5 years ago? Like, do I have to read this one? Like, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also a Batman and Superman that also has its own run. There's also like every character basically has their own comic in addition to like combination comics.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Joker only comic.
Team-ups and crossovers.
It's a lot. Like, Ninja Turtles I'm obviously keeping up with the current run of it. Every once in a while they'll have like some side stories, but luckily they've kept it simple. It's just give me the next number. That's basically all you need to know. But like at least mangas, volume 1 is always going to be volume 1.
Yeah, exactly.
And as much as I want to like properly view just like the rest of Naruto, like I don't know if I'm ever going to watch it, so I'm kind of tempted to just like maybe finish reading it where I left off, which hopefully shouldn't be too much. But I don't know, I mean, are there like some manga that I mean, are you? Did you ever finish Naruto? Is that like one that you're like, you know what, I'm gonna give it some closure, or you're like, it could stay where it was?
As far as anime,
Either, just the story in general. I mean, I don't know how far you got,
well, with
if
Naruto,
ever.
the first 5 seasons was the canonical like stuff. Like at the end of season 5, after they try and go and rescue Sasuke, I think that's where part 1 ends completely, and it still went on for like another few seasons.
Oh
So
yeah.
I never watched all that filler stuff. And then when Shippuden came up, I don't even think I got to the second season. And by seasons, I mean whenever the second opening came up.
Oh
Because,
damn.
seasons last forever. So I believe Naruto, it was every 24 episodes they got a new opening, and I never got to the second one. But I don't know what, like, got into it, like, something deep inside me came out and was like, I want to see the end of Naruto. And yeah, I saw like the last, I don't know, about 3 seasons, and man, that show just takes forever. People give Dragon Ball Z, like OG Dragon Ball Z, a lot of crap for stuff not happening between episodes. There are some episodes of Naruto's that are just pure flashback, and it's so annoying. I remember specifically this one scene was Naruto was gearing up to fight or something like that, and then it hard cuts to some faraway place, and you just see like tracks, footprints, like just these track of footprints in mud, and then you see it from another angle, you can see it from another angle, and it went on for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, and then you finally see who's making the tracks, and it's like, oh, it's Sasuke. But I did not need 3 minutes of just footprints on screen. It was so ridiculous. And that's just Naruto at the end. As far as how that ended, it ended up fine. The final battle between Naruto and Sasuke is actually really, really cool. But whether it was worth like everything that happened before is spoilers.
Yeah,
There's a space princess that like descends from the heavens. I forgot how she's introduced, but yeah, if there's one place that I didn't think Naruto would go, it was like cosmic entities.
I want to say
being the
it's
final
the
bosses.
moon. I think it's almost like a play on the stonecutter. No, yeah, the stonecutter fable from Japan, like the moon
Stonecutter
princess or
fable?
something.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like old man like cuts a bamboo shoot, and there's like a little princess, and when she grows up, she essentially goes to the moon. Ghibli had a movie based on it, Princess Kaguya. It's really good. You should watch. I definitely talked about that in this show, just because damn, that animation is amazing.
I've seen
And the
a
story
lot
is
of
very sad.
Ghibli. I don't think I've seen. What's it called? Princess Kaguya?
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at a trailer, like, it doesn't look like a Ghibli movie, what you would expect from a Ghibli movie, because the art style is like watercolor paint. It's like literally like a painting in motion, and the
Oh
character
wait, yeah.
designs
You
are
talked about this, right?
yeah, yeah, pretty early
Uh,
on in Quarantine Chronicles specifically.
Let me
But
see.
yeah, I think if I do try to rewatch Naruto, I would definitely do it with like an episode guide or something, just so I can get better pacing.
There were
But
these. I remember seeing it on Reddit when, like, back when barely anybody used Reddit. People had these. I forgot what they called them, but essentially it was whatever happened in a volume of a manga, they would cut into an episode, which
what?
seems like that would mean that like Naruto would only be like 30 something episodes long.
Whoa.
Yeah. Or 72 episodes long. Yeah.
Damn. Still.
Which,
That sounds cool.
yeah, that sounds like the best way, obviously, to watch anime. If you just 72 episodes of Naruto and you're done with the entire series, as opposed to, let's see, Naruto has
Plus.
220 episodes. I didn't even realize that Shippuden had 500 episodes. Jesus Christ.
What? Oh my gosh. Me neither.
I mean, that's still nothing compared to One Piece. I think One Piece is nearing its 1,000th episode.
It definitely already passed its 1,000th episode.
No, 991 episodes. Right? Yeah.
Oh, damn.
So 9 more episodes and it hits 1,000. I don't know how that dude can write so much.
Or was it that it passed the 100th issue? Or is it 1000th chapter?
A
There was a big
probably 100th
volume.
I would assume. Let me see.
Yeah, because there was a milestone that they passed recently. It was like, must have been 100. It was 100 something.
Yeah,
Obviously,
100
it was an
volumes.
episode. Ah, there we go. Damn.
And we really got into the weeds with anime, huh?
Yeah.
We never get to talk anime this much. Jason just doesn't watch anime.
Yeah, and I mean, I've tried recommending some to him, but it's not I don't know what it is about it. I think there's just a prejudice towards it, even if you won't admit it or realize it. Where if it's just like, if it looks like anime, I think he's just automatically less interested in it
Tunes
than
out.
he really would be.
Well, yeah, I remember we tried watching an episode of My Hero with him, and he just did not care for it. And to be fair, that episode wasn't even that great. I think it was the kid, like they were trying to teach the kids or something like that. I forgot what episode it was.
Yeah, and maybe there's one that he has actually seen. I mean, besides Pokemon. But I mean that is like the great thing about anime, that there's just so much variety in genre and story and everything. Like even like character design. Like there is easily at least like a dozen anime that Jason would be like completely enamored with. But I mean, who knows if you'll ever get to see them. I mean, I love that you have anime that you have like from slice of life to like horror action. Like it's just damn, there's just so many. But yeah, it's a shame.
What would you rather give up, anime or video games?
Oh man, I think damn, that's really hard. But I think I would give up anime, just because I could still get some narrative in video games, and that Demon Slayer game coming out looks like it's trying to stick close to the anime, so I could maybe experience it that way. Unless giving that up means I also can't play any of those games.
Well, yeah, essentially you give up anime. Oh no, I guess not.
But I mean, even if I have to,
it's not like one disappears. You just are not into that form of media, I guess.
Damn, but yeah, that'd be tough. Because they both. I mean, anime literally feels like it's just like offers infinite content. Like when I'm just like perusing or asking people for recommendations or getting recommendations, it's always like 90% of the time it's a show I've never heard of. Like how I ran into Space Brothers, that show about the people that work at NASA that I know talked about. Or again, like the one I brought up earlier, like Your Lie in April. Or, I mean, even Yakitaki Japan. I mean, there's so many, man. Yeah, definitely more so than American cartoons, because a lot of them can kind of be boiled down to just like screwball comedy, at least especially nowadays.
Especially the stuff on like Cartoon Network, for sure.
Yeah, you would have to go to like the 90s, or I mean, and then obviously like there's still a few like, I guess, story-driven shows, but it doesn't feel like there are as much. And there are some that start like Monster of the Week and then eventually go, I guess, yeah, Monster of the Week, and then they go deep into the story, kind of like Gravity Falls did. I like that show. And I know people have
saw that show. I've heard that show was awesome.
I mean, I feel I don't want to like I really enjoyed it.
It was
some
very
people
good.
Really love it,
considering where it was coming from. I guess Disney.
Yeah, like the people behind it, mainly like Alex Hirsch. Like if you like that show, because him, wow, why am I blanking out on his name? Josh. Well, J.J.
Quintel or whatever.
Yeah, J.G. Quintel.
Yeah.
Yeah. J.G. Quintel and Pendleton Ward. Those three, they went to school together and they worked on a lot of the same stuff. Oh, and something Greenblatt. Well, essentially, I think like coming right out of like school, I know they worked on like Flapjack. Like they all worked on the same show together. I know,
God. I sidebar. I hated that show with a passion. I think
my brother and I love that show.
I think I hated everything that was coming out of Cartoon Network around that time, because I believe it was like Flapjack. I think The Amazing World of Gumball had come out around that time.
No, Gumball came out
It was
way
before.
later.
What came out around Flapjack? I remember everything that was coming out around that time. I was like, oh, cartoon. You know,
I think around.
we were definitely older than the demographic, but you know, you could still admire and even still enjoy cartoons no matter how old you are. But at
I
that
definitely
time,
enjoyed.
whenever Flapjack came out, I was like, nope, I think I'm officially done with Cartoon Network completely.
Damn. Well, like I said, like my brother and I love Flapjack, but I think around that time, I don't remember what else they had. They might have had some live action stuff.
Oh, Chowder. I hated Chowder so
Oh
much.
damn. My brother and I also really like that show.
Oh God. Uh, I guess my gym partner's a monkey was ending around that time.
Oh yeah.
Ben
I don't
10,
know.
Alien Force. I mean, Ben 10 was all right, I guess.
I liked the first season a lot, but then as time went on, I think I just started losing interest in it. But I mean, I know at one point Cartoon Network kind of went through. I guess I guess what I thought was their slump. You definitely thought their slump was a lot earlier. Was when they had shows like Team Fortress, Fort Awesome, or something like that, and the Problem Solvers, which like visually was just like kind of a painful show to watch. It was just very aggressive with like its colors and shapes and the voice, especially the one of the main characters, which looked like a giant coffee bean that spoke in a not the most pleasant voice to listen to, but yeah, they were really experimenting there. But I think they kind of brought it back around. Although now, normally I usually keep up with what's going on in there, but last I checked, it was pretty much just reruns of Teen Titans Go all day, which my brother and I did really like. But then at some point, I think we just kind of stopped watching it, just kind of out of nowhere. Probably around the time the movie came out. Maybe we just had our fill, but I don't know. Point is, the only other show I've heard about recently that people have been talking up the way they have Gravity Falls is a show called The Owl House.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up because yeah, that's definitely the one that I've been hearing. I've seen some clips of it on like Twitter, and some of those clips was like, damn, that looks actually really really cool.
Yeah,
But
it's
I
an
guess it got
alternative to
canceled,
Harry
right?
Potter.
Or something like that.
No, I think it just finished. Like it just finished. Just like how Gravity Falls had an ending, this one they just ended the run.
I
So
could have
maybe
sworn that
maybe
there was a big.
maybe what's that it
Okay.
got canceled and they just had enough time to write an ending. But from what I understand, they were able to finish it or something like that. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that.
I feel like
But
there was like a recent big cartoon that got canceled and that people were outraged over that it didn't get its due. I could have sworn it was the Owl House, but I I don't remember.
yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Let's
mean,
see.
besides that, like, I mean, that's Disney. And I know Disney also had a show called Star versus the Forces of Evil that was also pretty popular, or at least like I heard a lot of buzz about it. But I think I only saw one episode. It was entertaining. It was like if they took the one of the characters from Gravity Falls, Mabel, and made a whole show about her, because that's exactly how the main character reacts. Incredibly happy and bubbly main character.
What did you think of the Nickelodeon stuff just as you were growing up? Because I think Fairly Odd Parents was the only one that I ever really cared about. Oh, and Danny Phantom. But like everything else, I never liked
Uh,
SpongeBob,
we really like
which is like
SpongeBob a
blasphemous.
lot. Um, Besides that, I mean, we like Rugrats, but I think we were just mainly watching reruns by that point. Probably just Fairly Odd Parents. I don't think I really got too into Danny Phantom. I was okay watching it, but it wasn't really one that I was like, oh, I need to see what happens next.
Sure.
Huh, what else did Nickelodeon have? I mean, I remember enjoying Cat Dog, but I don't really remember enough episodes in detail or like what really happened a lot of the time. It's just more like, yeah, I know I've seen that episode or I know I saw it, but I don't remember what about it I liked so much. Because now I'm trying to remember if it was like was it a gross out show or like Ren and Stimpy or was it just like
Yeah,
another kind of comedy like SpongeBob?
yeah, it was sort of like
Uh,
Ren and Stimpy-ish.
uh,
Oh,
yeah,
Jimmy
that one.
Neutron. Jimmy Neutron was fine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I did enjoy
it
watching
was
Jimmy
fun. Yeah,
Neutron.
it was funny.
Hmm.
Carl and his infatuation with Jimmy's mom, and what's that? What's that joke that I love so much when I think when Carl is talking about Miss Fowler, like Don't you guys ever think that in the right light, Mrs. Flower looks
Oh.
good, and they just cut him off?
That sounds familiar.
Oh yeah, the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. Hey,
Yeah.
that's the name of the last episode where two people were doing the podcast.
Yeah, that show, I definitely really like Jimmy Neutron. And yeah, the fact they crossed over with Fairly Odd Parents. I mean, those two, that was a pretty cool thing.
What was
But
the production company that did that?
damn, the actual, yeah, I don't remember who animates Fairly Odd Parents, but I mean, it's a good way to do a crossover.
Do
Which, I'll go for it.
with those shows, I guess, with like Fairly Odd Parents, is that animation outsourced to other countries? Like the way that
It probably used to be, like in the earlier episodes, but now that it's, I feel like the more modern digital ones probably are not, because I'm sure they use a lot more computer stuff. But it could be, because I know like some cartoons still definitely outsource their stuff, even like digitally or the CG, which is definitely surprises me, because you always hear like, oh, I always like to imagine like, oh, all the animation is done here, but it's like, nope, it's not the case.
animation's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know a lot of like Avatar stuff was outsourced for sure.
Avatar? Oh, like The Last Airbender?
Last
That's also
Airbender, Legend
Nickelodeon.
of Korra. Yeah, I never got into Avatar, and people love Avatar, and people think that's the greatest thing that's ever come out of Nickelodeon, which it might be, because like I said, I just never cared for SpongeBob, but that's Nick's biggest property. Like, I don't know, did you watch Avatar?
I watched the first few seasons. I was definitely enjoying it. I can't say I didn't stop watching it because I suddenly just got bored of it, but something clearly came up, never got around to it, and just never got back. And I feel okay with that. It's like
You would never you would never try to get into it?
if I do, I would have to start from the beginning, but it doesn't really help that, because, if you go around the internet and something's popular enough, you're bound to see things that end up kind of spoiling it. Or at the very least, like, the fact there is a chorus show and you kind of, like, I've seen maybe like the first few episodes of it, so I kind of know like the fate of some of the characters from I guess the not Shippuden arc of Avatar.
Sure.
And yeah, like kind of knowing how things end made me feel less of a rush to like go back and finish it, because it's like, oh, all this happens. I could just watch it anytime then. Because, there was like, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Aang at the end of the first one, like, or with everybody, because, that's the first time they're going through this journey. I mean, once you see who became an adult, it kind of takes some of the tension away of won't they die.
Yeah, you might get that. But I thought that you just didn't care for spoilers, though.
No, I don't. Like they won't ruin it. They won't ruin my enjoyment of the property themselves, but it will change like my priorities on like whether I need to watch them or not, depending on what it is. Like, I mean, there's some things that I'm like that. Like, there's some things that I'm interested enough that even if like I hear how it ends, like I'll still want to watch it immediately. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I was never in love with Avatar, so I guess it's kind of knowing what happens just made it feel less like, oh, okay, I could dedicate some time to other stuff. I'll get to it when I get to it, which I'm sure I will one day. I just don't know when that will be.
Mm. That's interesting.
Yeah. Speaking of crossover, though, when we're talking Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron, did you know and or see anything about this Scooby-Doo Courage crossover? Did you ever watch Courage? Was that one that you also avoided?
The most Courage I ever saw was the specific, that one episode of Return the Slab.
Oh, I know which. Yeah, the ghost that literally says, "Return the slab."
Yeah, exactly. Man, I don't remember why I watched that episode as much as I did. I feel like it was bundled in like a DVD possibly, but I mean that's Courage was what, Cartoon Network? I don't think I ever owned anything.
Yeah, it was Cartoon Network.
Specifically Cartoon Network, like a VHS or a DVD. But yeah, Courage just never did it for me either. I think it also might have it might have been the fact that I was also a huge wimp back then, and Courage was obviously like a horror themed show. as kid friendly as horror can get back in the day. Because it's all about
which is
this
basically
dog
just
going up
creepy.
against like serial killers and stuff like that. Yeah, but I don't remember why that episode just, not that it resonates with me. Why I just remember that episode so much. I have to figure out why. I remember watching that way too much. Oh, okay. According to the Wikipedia, Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost and Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders each include an episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog as a bonus.
Oh,
yeah, so that
so
makes
random.
sense. I think I had the Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders DVD. That makes sense now.
Wow, maybe there's been some Courage DNA always associated with Scooby for a long time that they finally. Oh, it's almost made me think of this as like something that was a long time coming. Because I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I want to watch it, but yeah, it's been getting pretty positive reception from Scooby and Courage fans. Just because, I mean, my brother and I, again, I think like every show that you mentioned from Cartoon Network that you didn't like, all of a sudden I really enjoyed. Yeah. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing this, especially because the voice of Muriel, the Courage's owner, the woman, I know she passed away earlier this year, something like that. Yeah, and I want to say this movie was her last role, which obviously makes sense. But yeah, so it'd be like, it'd be cool to watch. But yeah, we'll see. Definitely didn't really. I mean, of all the crossovers Scooby's had recently, that's like the only one that I've been like, oh, that's cool. Like, I want to watch that, instead of like, what? And I mean, it's not like Scooby's new to crossovers. I think they've been making crossovers since like the early days of Scooby. I think like the second season was called like the new Scooby-Doo movies, and he hung out with like the Three Stooges and just about every random celebrity of the time. Yeah. I mean, I guess the equivalent would be the recent one where he crossed over with wrestling and John Cena specifically.
Oh yeah, John Cena. I remember seeing that a lot. WWE is crazy. They'll just cross over with anybody that'll make them some money.
They'll take anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you ever like wrestling, or like ever got into it?
I was never into wrestling. The most that I liked out of wrestling was the ice creams, the WWF ice cream pops.
Ice cream?
Yeah, it was like it was
familiar.
Part cookie, and like the back, like the front of it was like cookie. It was vanilla covered in this like cookie shell, and the back of the shell had chocolate on it. It was like covered in chocolate. It was so good. And you got like a trading card of whoever was on the cookie, whichever wrestler it was on. You don't remember this?
Definitely not. I mean, or we just never got some.
You got to look it up. I feel like everybody has nothing but good things to talk about that specific like ice cream. But
that's the best thing to come out of wrestling.
I was never into wrestling. I'm more fascinated by the behind the scenes stuff, the actual business of wrestling, like, because it gets pretty deep when you talk about the contracts and that some of these wrestlers have. Like that's how deep I am infinitely more interested in the behind the scenes stuff. Like,
I don't think I knew anything about the behind the scenes of wrestling.
Oh yeah, it's insane. I went into
outside of like the quote unquote stories that happen behind the scenes, like off the ring, I guess. All the drama.
Oh no. I mean the stuff that, because the off the ring stuff. Yeah, wrestling has storylines and they have writers. Speaking of Scooby-Doo, what's his name? Fred. The guy who played Fred in the live action movies.
Freddie Prinze Jr.?
Freddie Prinze Jr., yeah, of course. He used to be a writer on WWE for a couple of years, apparently. But no, like the actual business and like their business models, and not even wrestling, it was more just like WWF and WWE. And like the whole lead up of like why this new league, AEW, was created. Have you heard of AEW?
Is that like some insurance? No,
it's all elite wrestling, and essentially it's created by wrestlers for wrestlers, like kind of thing. and apparently they just had a pay-per-view event like a week or 2 weeks ago, and it's being hailed as like one of the best pay-per-view events of all time. Not just for wrestling, just like pay-per-views of all time. Because that company is doing stuff specifically for the fans, and they get fan inputs and stuff like that. And as opposed to WWE, where I'm sure you know who Vince McMahon is. Where,
yeah, the dude that falls over his chair because of something that keeps awing him or something.
Like WWE, I'm pretty sure everything that happens at WWE has to go through him first. Like, he's the one that has final approval on the storylines, and I'm sure he's the one that's probably writing up these wrestlers' contracts. But like AEW, they're all doing it for the fans, as opposed to AEW is obviously also going to try and do it for the money. It is a business at the end of the day. But WWE is purely only doing it for the money. You know, whenever they get a backlash for something, they will fix it so that their fans, like, won't drop them from being paying customers. While AEW is doing it for both reasons. They want to keep the fans happy, without pissing them off, you know? They're not reacting to the fans. They are actively giving the fans what they want without receiving any sort of backlash. I'm sure they'll go through some phase, but as far as it is right now, AEW is like killing it from what I read on Twitter and what I read on sports blogs and stuff like that. But that stuff has always been more interesting to me than the actual wrestling.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Never knew about this ADW, so.
No, yeah, it's apparently the closest thing to actually, and it's going to be hard to dethrone WWE, but it's, you know, it's their best competitor at this point, because I feel like there was another wrestling brand that came out with, like, in the 90s or maybe even the early 2000s that was trying to take a crack at WWE, and they just failed. Not miserably, but I mean, they failed. And I don't know, it seems like this is the closest thing that WWE has as a good competitor, which, I mean, you know, you can't just have WWE have a monopoly on the wrestling world, I guess.
And I guess this keeping up that you do with, like, the industry side of it, like, has never made you curious enough to, like, watch an episode of regular wrestling? Like, you know what? Maybe this time I'll get really into it.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Because, like, even when it's like I said, this last pay-per-view event has been hyped up as the most entertaining and best pay-per-view events of all time. Like, I saw some of the fights, I'm like, I just can't get into it. Not at all. The closest that I got to actually consuming WWE content or wrestling content in general is one of the guys from Giant Bomb, the video game website. He's a producer on, he actually got hired by WWE to start making podcasts for WWE. And so I love that guy. That guy's hilarious. He loves Metal Gear Solid. His name's Dan Reichert. And he was just the wild card of Giant Bomb. And so when he went over to produce those podcasts, I'll listen to a podcast that he's on. But that's the most WWE that I consume. That's the most wrestling that I consume, really, outside of the business stuff.
Oh, can't say I've really follow any other industry like that. But, didn't see that coming. I mean,
I find it fascinating for sure.
Is anyone in your specific group that you hung out with, like, into wrestling? Because I guess in my immediate group, no, but I did grow up with a lot of people that really loved wrestling, like, all over. So I don't know why it never really stuck.
I believe one of my close friends used to be into wrestling, like, all the way up to, I don't know, maybe, well, I didn't go to high school with him, because he went to a different high school than us. But I believe into the end of middle school for sure. I think he was still into wrestling. I should ask him. I think I'm seeing him next week. I'm like, do you still keep up with WWE? I highly doubt it, considering that he's a doctor now and probably doesn't have time for wrestling. But
yeah. Well, I mean, while I definitely didn't really watch it, there were a few wrestling games that, while I didn't own, I did really enjoy. Like, a lot of them were really fun.
Same.
Like, Like there was one for the N64 where, I mean, on top of it just being 4-player at that time was already kind of like, whoa, like what is this kind of fighting game where you definitely have to mash A a lot because it's wrestling, so there's like a lot of pins and locks that you have to break out of. But I have to remember it being really fun.
There was a GameCube one, a GameCube WWE game. I think it was called Day of Reckoning. That was really, really good. And like I said, I've never cared for WWE, but that game was awesome. That was a really fun game. And like nowadays, the WWE games are just trash. Like they get trashed by fans. They're full of microtransactions. They're really badly optimized. And it was the same company doing these WWE games for, I think, the better part of a decade, maybe even longer. It's this Japanese company, this Japanese developer. I think they're called Ukes, and I believe WWE told them, "All right, you guys are no longer working on our games," and Ukes was like almost relieved. Because apparently WWE, it was either WWE or 2K, which are the people that published the game. I guess they wouldn't give them money to do what they wanted to do. And like they had, according to the head of Ukes, like they have all these great ideas for like a wrestling game, but like WWE and 2K just isn't giving them the time or the money because these games are released on a yearly cycle, just like any other sports game.
FIFA and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And so, they just never had time to implement any of the stuff. And that's why apparently the series went downhill pretty quickly. But guess what company is giving them the money and the time to make a good wrestling game? AEW. AEW picked them up and like, hey, do whatever you want with an AEW game. So I'm sure whenever that game comes out, it's just going to blow the water out of that year's WWE game. I would not be surprised.
A new lease on life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty like I'm saying, the behind the scenes stuff between like these wrestling corporations is really, really interesting to see. But yeah.
And as much as you like, well, I guess I won't say you like because we established that neither of us really follow it. But I mean, I guess I always thought of like wrestling games, or I mean, I guess even to extend it, MMA. I mean, did you ever get into that?
Yeah. No, like UFC and stuff like that? No. I never got into that stuff. And that stuff doesn't nearly as much interest me as WWE. Because like UFC, I don't want to say that there's match fixing, so I don't know that kind of stuff, but like nothing's really predetermined with UFC. It's all actually like people fighting in real time and there's no storylines. Sure, there's rivalries. But what sport doesn't have rivalries?
I remember always thinking about them, especially like when you get to their games, because dang, those games can get complicated with how you control them. It's almost like, I guess, simulations, like a fighting simulator. It's almost like the Gran Turismo of fighting games, where you just kind of want it like A and some other button to jump and punch. Just keep it simple, but. I mean, I honestly don't understand how these games are controlled almost, but yeah, I'm sure they're just as deep and competitive. But I don't know if I ever get to play them or get really into them.
I actually don't know who takes care of the UFC games because I know it was.
They may forget.
I know it still is 2K for a while for WWE, but as far as UFC goes, I have no idea who takes care of that. But yeah, I never got into UFC.
Yeah, makes sense. If you weren't into if you aren't into wrestling.
If I'm not into fake, fantastical wrestling, why would I be into real wrestling?
Yeah. Give me those anime fights. Although I never watched Ultimate. Oh, yeah. No, I did watch Ultimate Muscle, but I think that was only because it was before Ninja Turtles, back in like the mid 2000s.
Back when Fox Kids turned into the Fox Box.
Yeah.
That
wrestling anime.
That era. I did not like that era.
You didn't like the Kirby show?
No, I did not like the Kirby show because essentially the Fox Box took away everything that I liked about Fox Kids. Like as soon as Fox Box came along, we no longer had Digimon.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Or maybe that was just because there was no Digimon anime after whatever that 4th season of Digimon was called. But I could have sworn it was like Data Squad, but I don't remember when we got that over here. Not that it mattered because I never ended up watching Data Squad anyways, but...
Well, it did have the best version of Ninja Turtles, so I guess that's something.
Other
than that, I knew I had a show called Mew Mew. Well, probably had One Piece at the time with the rap in the beginning, which is what I think of One Piece when I think One Piece. But
Winx Club was. Oh yeah, I remember that was a thing. Oh, Sonic! I thought that Sonic. Oh, Sonic
Fighting Foodons. Oh, Sonic the anime.
Yeah. It was. It's funny because that was probably some of the most anime that we ever got on TV at the time, aside from like Toonami, which at that point had been canceled, right? Or was on the brink of being canceled.
Yeah, that show came back and died like 2 or 3 times. Well, that block. Yeah, but I mean, I don't even know if it's still going on right now.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Okay, yeah.
I think I think it's nothing but like My Hero and like Shippuden reruns probably.
Wow, didn't even air Boruto.
Yeah, they did have Boruto, but and see, I'm a Wikipedia hole, so I Wikipedia everything. And before anybody like starts yelling, Wikipedia is a decent website. Okay, it's like, oh, anybody can edit it. Yeah, but most of the time you also have to include a source for whatever you're putting on there. Okay, it's like,
which is enough to deter trolls usually.
Yeah, exactly. So this hate that Wikipedia gets is just beyond me. But I remember when, going through like the Boruto Wikipedia, they ended on a cliffhanger, like the dub on Adult Swim. They only dubbed up to like 50 episodes and then they just stopped completely. Yeah. I think it might be due to the fact that the English dub of Shippuden isn't over. So that might be the case. Oh, yeah.
Man, I feel like it's been, definitely at least a year, maybe like 2 or 3 since it ended.
Shippuden ended in 2018, year, right? I think.
Oh wow, so it was longer.
I'm sure like the American DVD releases, I'm sure every episode is dubbed by now. It's just, having to release it week by week is what takes forever. Especially considering that Toonami took like that 5 to 8 year break when it got canceled and came back.
That's true. We have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah. Well, we've been at an hour. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Not off the top of my head. Although, like, half the things that we talked about, like, were literally just, like, off the top of my head. Like, we definitely didn't expect to have, like, a chat about wrestling. Let alone the back end of wrestling, which I definitely never think about.
Yeah. Like, I half-ass Quarantine Chronicles / Random Nintendo. And so, coming into this, I was like, man, if I half-ass those, how am I going to do this one, I guess? But I don't know. We had a nice chat. We're hanging out later today without Jason because he's a bad friend.
I know that. I mean, not only is it my birthday,
and we're also joking. He's not a bad friend. He's a great friend.
No, yeah, he does his best, and it's really appreciated. But unfortunate circumstances. I mean, it is true that we won't be hanging out with him later because, as we mentioned, he's in Vegas for his girlfriend's birthday, and unfortunately, it just happened to be around the time of my birthday, because I think it's the first time he's missed my birthday party in like over 10 years.
Since college.
Yeah. Since I started inviting him to birthday festivities, which, was definitely like a college thing by then, which is easily over 10 years then. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, last year, most people didn't come. I mean, I think we had almost everyone come virtually, and there was like a handful of people that came that I was already seeing regularly because of, COVID and trying to reduce exposure and all that. But yeah, well, hopefully he has fun over there. I'm sure he's gonna talk about the iHeartRadio concert that he went to. But
what's the next episode of recording? It's Random Nintendo, right?
Yeah, Nintendo next week.
Okay. Well,
Which,
yeah. I'll actually have a video game to talk about. I usually don't, but I actually will this time.
Oh?
Yeah. So, yeah,
Mario
I guess
so
that'll do. I guess that'll do it for this episode. We never called this episode something, huh? Originally, we wanted to call it AK-47, Angel Kevin 47, and just talk for 47 minutes. But apparently, that's not good for the algorithms. Apparently, we would get what
Apple
did
would
call it?
delist us or something.
Not delist us, but like they wouldn't push us out as much.
Yeah.
So I forget what we decided to call this.
I think it was rated K to A.
Oh, rated K to A, yeah. Which is a very good name as well. Kids to all ages.
But AK-47 just works so well.
Yeah, AK-47 would have been baller. Would have been a banger of a title for sure.
But alas...
Maybe I should have called it a banger when we're talking about guns. Anyways...
Jason would appreciate that pun.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if Jason even listens to this episode. I have a feeling he will. Just to see if we got wild with it or not. Mm-hmm. And maybe he'll tune out when once the anime talk starts happening.
Oh, that's true. Well, yeah. Definitely looking forward to his notes.
That'll be interesting. On how to fix the next episode where he's gone, which, depending on the reception to this episode, he might never let us do this again.
Yeah, there was something specific that we weren't supposed to talk about by his request.
The Apple event and Shang-Chi.
So what do you think about Shang-Chi and the Apple event? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, oh man, that'd be great. Well, I guess that'll do it for AK-47 plus, crap, how much time do we go over? Plus, 13, plus 25.
I looked at the time of the one Jason and I did, and that was 1 hour and 6 minutes, so we actually went longer.
Suck it, Jason. Alright, and with that, I guess we will bid y'all adieu.
Yep. Later.